Hey, I'm Rick Pierce. This is a little Livewell video. We're going to talk about how Livewells function on a bass cat boat. We've got that on our FAQ section if you want to read about it. But we're really going to talk about it a little bit in depth because there's a lot of misnomers on Livewells today. We want to explain the system, how it works, and why we do what we do, and what you need to do as a user in a Bass Cat Premium model. There's three models in the Bass Cat line. 3 lines, and that would be the Vision, the Advantage, and the Premium. What we're addressing today is the Premium line, or the top end, and it's most of our volume. So today in Livewells, there's a theory that you can have these encapsulated Livewells. And we're going to talk about that for a minute. So today, biologists have learned that to dissipate the ammonia in your Livewell, that carbon dioxide plays a critical role. To get that carbon dioxide, your Livewell needs an amount of headspace or opacity in it of air. And that carbon dioxide basically helps to break that ammonia down. Y'all can Google it. Everybody's going to anyway. So you can learn about it on Google. But today, there's a lot of people wanting to do injection systems, Livewell systems, door venters, all those things. And they really aren't all good. So today, you need a little headspace. Some of the pros will cap them. You can take your overflow and cap ours. You can get this cap at Home Depot and thread it on the overflow because the overflow sets out in the Livewell. This is a 1-inch overflow. You can take that overflow and put a cap on it, and that's fine if you're in big water. But really, you need to turn that water. You have to turn the water. Fish live on about somewhere between 7 and 9 parts per million of oxygen. They honestly can't use more than that. So when you have an oxygen injection system, a tank system with a stone, basically it injects oxygen in there, and your regulator needs to be set to where you can get that probably maximum 10 ppm of oxygen in that Livewell. Then with that headspace, as you turn that water over and you use the recirculator, and this is a pump we use for the recirculator. This is a 1,000-gallon SPX Mayfair these years ago. Some of the old guys remember them as Baspirators. Cartridge comes out, simple. You can replace the cartridge. They all interchange. Slip the cartridge back in, twist it, lock it in place. That's how you change your cartridge. We do ours on bullets, so you can change them. They're Mercury Marines bullets, actually. And then you turn around and you can change that out. Simple. But to use that recirculator, you want that to recirculate off the bottom of the well. So this is the furthest down pump in your well. It pumps in the top. It comes through this spray bar. It's pulling the water off the bottom. Ammonia is heavy, so ammonia is sitting on the bottom of your Livewells. These 5 holes are now 1/8 inch. Years ago, they were 3/16. That's before we found this little part right here. This little part right here is the screen in your Livewell on a premium boat. So that prevents the trash from going on through your system. So you definitely need to check your screens. They're back there in the back of the boat on the side of the Livewell. And they're just under the spray bar right next to one of these valves. So you definitely want to check and make sure this is clear. And these were 3/16 on the older models. We went back to 1/8 inch because we really need a lot of high injection to develop oxygen, because those micro bubbles coming in the top, these holes are what develop those micro bubbles. That's what allows the carbon dioxide to dissipate the ammonia in your Livewell. So just telling you how that works. On that system, you've got this valve in a Bass Cat boat. You have other valves. Other people have different valves. And the color of this arm indicates the type valve you need. So this is a flow right valve. This is a not an on-off valve. This particular valve has a recirculator portion. So as you flip your handle over to empty, it empties. It doesn't let any water come in your Livewell. If you flip it to auto, then that is now recirculating at about a 40 to 60% rate. So it's pumping in fresh water, and the other half of that water is coming through the Livewell and recirculating. So it automatically has a recirculator on the aerator, which is this aerator right here that goes into this valve. So that valve right there, it's down in the bottom of your bilge. We cut that short so it's more like this. That aerator right there is the one that's recirculating and providing fresh water to your well. This screen's on the back of your boat to prevent trash from getting in the system. It helps to prevent trash. And then this is on the line coming off of this. There's 2 of these on your boat, and you can use those, and they stop the trash before it gets in the spray bar. We came across this spray bar years and years ago. We worked with Arkansas Game Fish, and a gentleman that was at the time a biologist here, and he had oxygen meters we could get access to, and we worked on the amount of oxygen that we could produce in there, so we can get an ample amount of oxygen to reach that 7 to 9 parts per million that your fish need. Your fish and a bass will live on 3 to 4 parts per million. What dissipates that is the ammonia. So it's very important to use this system right. Then there's water temperature. A lot of guys want to talk about water temperature. Fish can only live and sustain without shock in about 7 degrees. So you only need to lower the temperature about 7 degrees. Everyone's got this theory, we need more oxygen, we need cooler water. Well, you need cooler water. If you're running at 70 degrees, you don't need cool water. You can use these, turn your aerator on once every 3 minutes. If you've got a programmable aerator of years ago, you can set it where you want. But really, once every 5 minutes is more than you'll need in a general 50 to 75 degree temperature. Once it gets over that low 70s mark, you can turn them up on 3 to 1. When they get above about 85 degrees on water temperature, I like to run them on full pressure all the time. Just turn them on, let them run, because those fish, the higher temperatures require more aeration to go through because they use more oxygen, and there's less oxygen able to retain in that hotter water. And then they produce more ammonia. And then a lot has to do with the amount of fish you have in your live well. If you've got a lot of fish in your live well, then you definitely are going to need more aeration, because those live wells do not have enough water to sustain really large populations of fish without turning that water. Basically, the ratio on fish is about 2 pounds a gallon. That seems to be an industry standard among biologists. So about every 2 pounds of fish. And don't forget, while you're putting fish in those live wells, and all of y'all know we have exceptionally large live wells, while you're putting fish in those live wells, you're taking water out. Every fish that goes in is eating water out. Each space. So it's going to take more water. So the more fish you put in there, the less water you have. So it's definitely important to critical to run that. If you're running on a river system, one of the things I like to do on a river system, I like to turn the aerators off. I want no water coming in that thing on a river system in backwater. So you go, for example, here we've got what's known as Case Bar, Tar Camp. Those areas, you run the natural river in the summertime, it's 85, 87 degrees. You go into the backwater, it may reach 100 degrees. Well, if you go into the backwater and you turn it on, at 100 degrees, you're going to shock those fish off that main river water. So I like to turn my aerator off. I leave this on auto, but I turn this actual pump off. So turn the aerator off, turn the recirculator on, and now let that run and just continually recirculate. And then this part right here will turn around and get the oxygen into the water as it injects, and that headspace will take that carbon dioxide and eat on that ammonia a little bit. There's a whole lot to do with the pH factor of the live well. You're reaching a good pH level those fish can sustain. Basically, fish, they use the bathroom in the water, so you're going to have ammonia just like you produce ammonia for yourselves. So this valve right here, this is one we haven't spent any time talking about, and we're running through this pretty quick today. But this valve is the valve that flushes. So if you did get trash, moths, fish scales, whatever to come through, we've had guys pull these screens out, these get plugged up. You go in there, you take a probe, you push these, you open this valve in the back, you flush it all in the bilge, and you take it out the drain in the back. So this is basically a clean out flush valve. You can turn it on, turn it off. It should be in a cross position. We used about 3 different brands of these over the years. There's a blue one, there's a handle from, it was a Flow-Rite brand, different Flow-Rite, but definitely a Flow-Rite branded one. And that's it. So really this is it on the live well system. The misnomers that are out there are about encapsulated systems, so that's what I wanted to start this with, and we want to end it with. Nothing against the encapsulated systems if you use them right, but most people don't understand how to use them. You've really got to be putting fresh water in, and you have to maintain oxygen. So that's where the population's coming from some of the people today to run separate oxygen systems. The best oxygen system out there was like we did with the Tiger tank one year, and that is to put an air stone in on a tank. Of course, there's some hazards associated with the air stone and tank system, but it's really the best system. That regulator, you control it, you can monitor it, you can get the right parts per million. And then you can overexcite the fish. Some of the hospital systems, some of them are running 15 parts per million, and those fish get overexcited at some point. So you definitely don't need to overexcite the fish, because now you have other problems with them. They can be too lively. So you definitely want to watch what you do. But that 7 to 9 rule, if you can get in there, you're going to be real good. We've talked about capping the system. We've talked about the spray bar. We've talked about recirculation. The difference in any brand of valve. Don't just go buy a valve to replace yours. Be sure you get the right valve for your boat, whether it's Bass Cat Boat or another brand. Not everybody uses the same one. So we use this one's one we use on our Yarcraft brand. This one we use on our Bass Cat brand. Walleye are a little bit more sensitive. They're finicky. And if you're having trouble with those valves closing, there's a clamp right here. You can check, and that cable will slip in that clamp, and that bump needs to be all the way against that clamp. So if you get that bump or that knob at the end of the cable, it needs to be against this clamp, and that'll let it all flow. What happens is that slips in there, this kind of flexes, and when you move your cable, the actual jacket on the cable moves, not the cable itself. So the valve's never actuating. So you want to be sure this clamp's tight on your valves. And that's even if you're installing a new one especially. We get them all the time. You got to have this piece. You want to be sure this piece is on the back. If you don't have this on the back of your boat to cap those, then you're going to wind up with a lot of trash in this valve. Fish regurgitate in the live well. So as it picks that up on that recirculation, it's going to go into this particular screen also. So you want to be sure you're aware that that screen's going to have to be cleaned more frequently than you think. Older boats, some of the older boats, this screen was about half this size, and we do stock this screen in a large hole. This is a hole we finally got them to build, because the small screens would clog just almost from just grass and moss. So they worked well. They worked too well. So that would clog up and need cleaned quite a bit. So we've talked about the flush valves on the back of the boat. When you get a new boat, be sure this is sideways, so it's turned off, or you're going to get water in. So when you turn your aerators on, be sure you got that off. So that's kind of the down and out of the system. The difference in the 1/8 inch system and 3/16, the 1/8 inch are better. We did have some challenges as people, sometime about 15 years ago, we started fishing the shad spawn more, about 15 years ago. As the shad spawn got more popular, we got these little holes got clogged up, so we went to larger ones. Then we got the screen, and the screen kind of resolved that. So we're back on the small holes just to get better oxygen flow. That's a quickie on everything. Sorry if this video ran a little long. I know it's a little touchy. I'm probably not the best host on a video, but I've done a lot of it, so I hope you've gotten to pay attention to it. If you got any questions, hit the owner's board at basscat.com. We'd be glad to answer them. And also on our FAQ section, there's a how-to on live wells. So that's it, and we hope you enjoyed it, and hope it taught you something and learned a little bit about your live well. And hopefully the depth is a lot of it on the ammonia. We missed that part, but we'll save that for later. Have a good one.